from Isaiah 46, verses 1 through 10. And I'm going to go to work now. It says, Baal boweth down, Nebo stoopeth. Their idols were upon the beasts and upon the cattle. Your carriages were well loaded. They are a burden to the weary beasts. They stoop. They bow down together. They could not deliver the burden, but themselves are gone into captivity. Hearken unto me, O house of Jacob, and all the remnant of the house of Israel, which are born by me from the belly, which are carried from the womb. And even to your old age I am he, and even to the whore's hairs will I carry you. I have made and I will bear, even I will carry and will deliver you. To whom will ye liken me and make my equal and compare me that we may be like? They lavish gold out of the bag and weigh silver in the balance and hire a goldsmith and he maketh it a god. They fall down, yea, they worship. They bear him upon the shoulder, they carry him and set him in his place, and he standeth from his place, he shall he not remove. Yea, one shall cry unto him, yet can he not answer, nor save him out of his trouble. Remember this and show yourselves, men. Bring it again to mind, O ye transgressors. Remember the former things of old, for I am God, and there is none else. I am God, and there is none like me, declaring the end from the beginning, and from ancient times the things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure. This same text from the Message Bible, as quickly as I can. The god Baal falls down. God Nebo slumps. The no good hunks of wood are loaded on mules and have to be hauled off, wearing out the poor mules, dead weight, burdens who can't bear burdens, hauled off to captivity. Listen to me, family of Jacob, everyone that's left of the family of Israel. I've been carrying you on my back from the day you were born, and I'll keep carrying you when you're old. I'll be there bearing you when you're old and gray. I've done it and will keep on doing it, carry you on my back, saving you. So to whom will you compare me, the incomparable? Can you picture me without reducing me? People with a lot of money hire craftsmen to make them gods. The artisan delivers the god and they kneel and worship it. They carry it around in holy parades, then take it home and put it on a shelf. And there it sits, day in and day out, a dependable God, always right where you put it. Say anything you want to it, it never talks back. Of course, it never does anything either. Think about this, wrap your minds around it. This is serious business, rebels. Take it to heart. Remember your history, your long and rich history. I am God, the only God you've had or ever will have. Incomparable, irreplaceable, from the very beginning, telling you what the ending will be, all along letting you in on what is going to happen, assuring you I'm in this for the long haul. I'll do exactly what I set out to do. The ending of the Message Bible's take on that text hit me. When God himself espoused that he was in it for the long haul. Then God's referencing that he was from the very beginning telling the people of God what the ending would be. For a few minutes on this Sunday, I'd like to share from this subject. Our God has a track record. Say that to somebody close. Our God has a track record. People of God, we don't serve a Johnny-come-lately God. Our God has history. Our God isn't a God that just popped on the scene. Our God isn't just trending on social media. Our God has faced challenges. Our God has conquered challenges. Our God has faced competition. Our God has conquered competition. Our God has been questioned. Our God has proved himself throughout all of the questioning. Our God over time has been put on the spot. And our God has proven himself over 1,000,001 times. It would seem that men and women in these flesh suits at times are bold enough to question an infinite God. How dare we question the God that created the heavens and the earth? How dare we question the God that breathed into man's nostrils the breath of life? How can we question the God that was our grandmama's God? How can we question the God that was our parents' God? How can we question the God that brought our ancestors out of slavery? Since this is Black History Month, I'd like to invite the late writer James Baldwin to the witness stand as we start to take a look at what our ancestors have faced over time. Please permit me to paint a picture of how much our ancestors truly suffered and what we're still suffering to this very hour. Let me be your tour guide just for a second, and I promise you I'll get back to our sermon text. Please allow this Black History one-off, and I promise that I'll return to our previous programming after I do. James Baldwin wrote this about Black folks and our ability to deal with obstacles and the inability of the dominant group to do the same. Baldwin wrote, "I do not mean to be sentimental about suffering. Enough is certainly as good as a feast. But people who cannot suffer can never grow up. They can never discover who they are. That man who is forced each day to snatch his manhood, snatch his identity, and snatch himself out of the fire of human cruelty that rages to destroy it, knows if he survives his effort, and even if he does not survive, something about himself and the human life that no school on earth, and indeed no church, can teach. He achieves his own authority, and that is unshakable. This is because in order to save his life, he is forced to look beneath appearances, to take nothing for granted, to hear the meaning behind the words. If one is continually surviving the worst that life can bring, one eventually ceases to be controlled by a fear of what life can bring. Whatever it brings must be borne. And at this level of experience, one's bitterness begins to be palatable, and hatred becomes too heavy a sack to carry. When a person or people constantly have to endure the worst that life can bring, they cease to be afraid of the worst that life can bring. So I submit to you as Black people, we're not afraid. Are we concerned? Yes, we are. Are we stirred? Yes, we are. Is Project 2025 as we think it is? Maybe so. But Black people, if we truly be honest, we've seen this movie before. Look at someone and tell them that we've seen this movie before. Okay, now let me get back to our regular programming. Our God has a track record. Our God has a track record. When I say that our God has a track record, just think of how God has kept some of us for such a long time. Brother Young over there, he got his 4 score and a little bit, but my wife's father yesterday, they gave him a surprise 90th birthday party. That's not just 3 score and 10, that's 4 score and another 10 on that, and then you gonna surprise a man 90 years old on his birthday. But he was there sharp as a tack, but he had his 90th birthday. How many of y'all know making it to 90 is quite a blessing? So he had to know that God's got a track record, because I'm sure in them 90 years that it was some close calls and then some bad turns and some other things that all of us have been through. But so just think of yourself, how God has kept you for such a long time. How many times has God just stepped up just when you needed him the most? I know y'all ready to go to that Walmart out there in Collierville that Sister Shanita went to, but I'm telling you, but I don't know. I might just go by there myself right after church. Might drive by there and look at the baskets. I would submit that God has kept many of us when our foot not only almost slipped, but when our foot actually slipped. Notice I didn't say what the word says, when our foot almost slipped. God has kept some of us when our foot slipped. God has delivered our people from both the horrible pit and the miry clay. Is there anyone here today who's a witness to God's delivering power? Is there anyone in the room? Could there be one? Has God brought you out of a fix? Has God brought you out of a tight spot? Men in their own pride will even try to create their own gods. but they're no match for the one and only God of the universe. Our God conquers false gods for breakfast. Our God rules and he super rules. There's simply no match for our God. The false worship of various idols was practiced by many, but our God brought every false god low. Our God has no equals. Our God is often imitated, but never ever duplicated. Our God is a deliverer beyond compare. There's no power that our God can't conquer. God spoke thousands of years ago back, and we're seeing what God spoke way back then coming to pass on a daily basis. Our God has the greatest prophetic power. Our God has the power to declare things that are not yet done. Our God can speak the future because he has his person already in our futures. Our God knows our beginning because he created our beginning. Our God's word never returns unto him void. In our sermon text, the writer is sharing what God himself is speaking. The late Matthew Henry thought of our text and wrote that our God will never fail his worshipers. Isn't that a powerful statement? What if worshiping of our God might be the difference between success and failure in our lives? What if we just took one glory? If it just took one glory to God, that we might be one glory away from our breakthrough. What if we're one praise his name from abundance? Can we just worship God for 30 seconds? Our God won't fail his worshipers. So we should be determined that we worship God as much as we can. Our God puts forth incontestable proof that he alone is God. Our God declares the end from the beginning. Our God declares our tomorrows even from ancient times. Our God claims the final score before the jump ball has ever been performed. Our God has already spoke the end times and the end of all things. In our text, people were caught up with idols. There's no idol that can even get in the boxing ring to face our God. Our God has a track record. God's plans for our lives will not be hindered. What God has spoken over our lives will come to pass. God's predictions and God's prophecies will come to pass. We can bank on what God says in his word. Our God has a track record. Barnes Notes on the Bible, a known Bible commentary, and this professor stuff gonna leave in just a minute. I'll catch y'all. Y'all gonna be shocked when I catch it. A known Bible commentary states that our God's counsel shall stand. That means that our God's counsel is stable, settled, and fixed. God's plans for our lives is super stable. No one can dash the plan that God has for our lives. Our God actually foretells the course of future events. Our God predicts future events. God's plans will not be frustrated. God's plans will be executed. There's no plan of anyone anywhere that can defeat the purposes of our God. No one can stop the plans that God has made. No one can hinder the plans that God has made. Our God is powerfully calling out our nets right while we're in the midst of our trials and tribulation. Let me give it to you like Ted and Sherry sang a few years back. They sang that God starts it and God finishes it, but it's up to us to work the middle. Where are my work the middle folks at? Where my work the middle folks at? God's not shaking up about your past because he was there. God's not shaking about your future because he's already there also. I'm telling you, saints, I declare to you that what you see in the natural can have you shaken, but we should, even though we may be shaken, we never should be shaken. Tell someone close that I may be shaking, but I'm not shaken. God declares the end from the beginning. We're fearful of outcomes that God has already predetermined. What God has spoken over our lives will come to pass, regardless of what plans are going on at the White House. God has a heavenly script written for our lives, and in the end, we're going to win. Tell someone close that it's written in the script that I'm going to win. Written in the script. Our text speaks of idol gods that have to be carried and moved. When ancient nations defeated you, they would carry your idol gods away. How would you feel that the folks didn't even defeat you, but they whip your God too. These idol gods, when they fall, they can't even get themselves back up again. How are you going to take your idol god on a trip to Chicago in your luggage, and they lose your luggage and they lose your God too? Can you see yourself calling Delta? I'm sorry, but my God is missing. I'm sorry, wait, can you look for my God? We were on flight 2357, and I need to get my God back. What do you do when your God can't come home with you from a trip to Chicago? People of God, men will set up idols that have no power to deliver or no power to save them. Our God will conquer every idol and every God that will present themselves. Our God alone is God. Our God has a track record. He was my mama's God. He was my daddy's God. He was my grandmama and my granddaddy's God. Our God has been our family's God. Our God has been Temple Love's God. Our God has a track record. Tell someone close that there's no God like our God. Look, folks, they can have their idols, they can have their crystals, they can have their Ouija boards, but our God stands alone as the only God that's worthy to be praised. Only our God can deliver. Only our God can break chains. Folks complain about giving to the church. Now pull out your calculator and count up what you've given to the world. Just consider what was your thing in the world. Whatever your thing might have been, think of how you give it to it. Our God asks for 10% of your earnings, not because God needs your money, but he asks for it to keep this organism of his, the church, to run and do ministry. I would love for us to help the outside world instead of people just in here, but we need your financial help to do so. I hear people in the street saying that the church is only about your money. The last time I checked, Macy's was only about your money. Target was only about your money. Walmart was only about your money. Best Buy was only about your money. That play person that comes to your door every 2 days, Amazon, they're only about your money. I'm not some guy that's wanting to sit back and live off of you. That's not me or mine or my personality set at all. I'm sorry, I just have to make some things clear, but now let's get back to the closing out of this message. Our God foretells and foretells our futures, and he never misses. Our God's prediction and prophecies are never off. What he says will come to pass. My brothers and sisters in Christ, I come to you with this incredible truth that I don't know what tomorrow may hold, but I do know who holds tomorrow. Our God has a track record. Jehovah and Sons has reigned and will reign forevermore. Our God's not worried about your issue because he's already spoken out how you will overcome it. We have to walk by faith and not by sight. Our God's not a man that he should lie, neither the son of man that he should repent. If God has spoken victory over your life, trust what God has said about your life. God has spoken defeat over any life that belongs to him. Our God's not going out of style. Our God's not perishing. Our God's not going to be declined. Our God's not going out of business like every other God that's out there. Tell somebody, our God has a track record. I'm not trying to be like the late Michael Jackson, but do you remember the time when God did that thing that was so special to you? Do you remember what God brought you out of? That thing that you thought had you down for the count. Just for a second, think about those things. Those events are all part of God's track record. Our God has a track record. If he did it before, he will do it again. I did say that it's Black History Month. Tell somebody, look across the way, it's Black History Month. The story was told that there was a mouse on a farm once. The mouse realized that the farmer set a mouse trap. So the mouse started going around telling everybody that you have to help me get rid of this mouse trap. So the mouse went over to the chicken and told him that they've set a mouse trap. The chicken said, man, I love you, but That ain't got nothing to do with me. It's not a chicken trap. He left the chicken and he went over to the pig and he told the pig and said, man, you have to get me out of this trap. They've set a mouse trap. They're trying to get me, dog. The pig said, I love you, man, but it's not a pig trap. Then he went over to his friend the cow and told him, man, you have to help me get rid of this trap. The cow said, you know I love you, and you know I got your back, but it's not a cow trap. Then one night, a venomous snake got caught in the mouse trap. The farmer's wife walked into the kitchen and didn't know that the venomous snake's tail got caught in the mouse trap. So the venomous snake bit the farmer's wife. She became deathly ill. So what's the first thing you do when someone gets ill? You make chicken soup. So the chicken was pulled from the farm and the chicken soup was made. The woman got worse and all the church members and all the family members became to come early. They started to come early and visit early in the morning. So the farmer needed some bacon and the farmer needed some hot wings. So Mr. Pig, he got pulled. Then the woman went on and died from her injuries. And there was a funeral, and they had to prepare for the repast, and there went the cow. The moral of this story is that when one of us is in trouble, all of us are in trouble. When one of us are threatened, all of us are threatened. When one of us is going through, all of us are going through. When one of us is weeping, all of us are weeping. We're in this thing together. Y'all folks over here, look at them folks over there and tell them we in this thing together. Y'all folks over here, tell them folks over there we in this thing together. Thanks to God, we're in this thing together. My wife was talking to me on the way to church this morning, and she said, what happened to community? She said, I don't know about you, like I'm from some suburban place, but my mama used to send me over across the way, and she said, do you have some sugar? To the neighbor over there, do you have some butter? Do you have some milk? And we used to all do that. What happened to our sense of community? What happened because we get 2 checks past our paycheck, and then we forget where we came from? I told you about that lady. She bust me out at a car dealership. I said, I know you. Oh, you don't know me. I said, but I know you. You don't know me. She's with all of the corporate friends. And then I said, isn't Sharon your sister? Yes, but you don't know me. I said, Dwayne your brother? She said, yes, but you don't know me. I said, didn't your grandmama stay on Beechwood? She said, yes, but you don't know me. And I said, and I busted her on out. And I said, didn't your grandmama have a drink machine on her front porch? And for everybody on the street used to put a dime in it, and get their Coke, and get their Sprite. There's about 100 people around. Everybody fell out. I didn't mean to bust a sister out, but every now and then, you gotta remind each other that you ain't all that special. You ain't all that good. I was on the call. Y'all excuse me. The other night, and since I do have a Kojic title by name, but I noticed that somebody, he calls everybody else by their title, and he never calls me nothing but pastor. And I was about to get mad, and then the Lord just told me this morning, all your $100 million ministries all around the world, none of them folks are called bishops, none of them folks are called elder, none of them folks are called administrator. They're called Pastor Joel Osteen, Pastor Adrian Rogers. They're called Pastor Charles Stick. Saints of God. I know what he's doing. I got a friend, Pastor Eric Gibbons. He said dude was trying to little in you. And while he was trying to little in me, he was just prophesizing that we're going to go to a great place. Saints of God, our God has a track record. Our God is ready to take us on higher. Simple love, what they don't see is that when we wasn't having church during COVID, you can call the pastor that we were leasing the building from. We didn't miss one payment. We didn't have church for a whole year. And that joker got his rent every month after month. I said, now, Sister Tammy, I know you got on your mask, but get on over there and pay that man. So when you folks tell the story, you make sure that you tell the story right. Saints of God, I'm telling you on today, our God has a track record. I can get up on my own here because I'm talking to you now, coach. I preached. There are 3 current general board members that I preach for. You add Bishop G. Passing to that. I preach for 4 general board members of the Church of God in Christ. And I ain't trying to brag, but I didn't die in any one of their churches. But I know what it is, because we don't have a building. And you feel like I'm some second-tier ministry. The saints of God. One of you all preach that you say can preach the house down. You just told me you ain't coming back, dude. You got my folks to shout that ain't never shouted. You ain't coming back. So while you sitting here judging, you don't know what God did. Saints of God. These folks looking at y'all the very same way. They say because y'all came off of Porter Street, you can't do better. Saints, they look down at me and said, because I played through all the school. And they said, this boy ain't got it. Now, my brother Hamilton made a 33 on the SAT and a 1420 on the SAT. Now, he made a 33 on the ACT and a 1420 on the SAT. But they looked at me as that little playful brother that run with the thugs until my scores came back. Saints of God. That's why I tell you all the time, don't get mad. And you better celebrate your A and B students because they come back and teach at your school. But you better not forget your C, D, and F school students because they'll come back and finance it. Tell someone, forget that school grades. Like tell them, forget your school grades. Forget your school grades. You ain't got no relation to how good you do. Saints of God. Tell them I'm forgetting my school grade. Now you may not be talking about Tammy with all them A's and E's and taking her name down that was walking when the teacher was gone and taking her name down. When they talked, I think I heard Tammy once make out, and while you were gone, I took it upon myself to write the personal responsibility to tell you who was talking while you were out and who wasn't talking while you were out. But saints of God, Temple Love is growing. Temple Love is blooming. You're getting better. Our God has a track record. We know how this story's gonna come out. God's taking us higher. Yes, yes, yes. God's taking us higher. Bless his holy name. Bless good God from on high. Yes, sir. Our God died until the sun refused to shine. He died until the earth started to rock and reel. He died until the earth started to shake and shake. He died until the Roman centurion said, this man must be the Son of God. He died until the men of the temple was ready to from the top to the bottom. He would track record. I ain't talking about that bootleg dude that you all in love with. They might treat you right on Tuesday and forget about you on Saturday. Go tell some people our God has a track record. His credit is good with me. Our stuff can be shot, but our God's credit is good. God doesn't need us to be his cosign. God spoke me in from the beginning. God has done it. Tell somebody, God can do it. He can do it right now. As a matter of fact, everybody walk across this front, and I'm going to lay hands on you. God, he's got a track record. Come on down here. God got a track record. Yes, sir. God is ready to heal. God is ready to deliver. God is ready to set free. Our God has a track record. I don't know about your name. I don't know about your motives. I don't know about your homies. I don't know about whoever else. Tell them my God has a track record. My God's good. He's good in the morning. He's good in the evening. He's good in the midnight hour. My God has a track record. Saints of God. My God has a track record. Bring us in. One thing I'm telling you, just say what God says. God's already spoken to Ian. It's in his word. You ain't got to go to no prophet. You ain't got to go to no soothsayer. Just say what God says. Tell them, just say what God says. Just say what God says. He was in your beginning and he was in your end. He knows what your end's going to be. Whatever God has spoken over your life will come to pass. Now, before y'all all go to the Walmart in Collierville, Sister Shanita was it. Before y'all go out there, I'm just believing that God's going to do incredible work in here, incredible work in all of y'all's lives. Just hold your hands up as we start to dismiss it.